Hello and welcome to Health Professional Radio. Thank you so much for joining us for another segment. I'm your host, Neil Howard, and we're going to be talking with Ali Carbone in this segment. She's sister to three brothers with autism. She's joining us to talk about her new memoir called What Are You Looking At? Ali's going to share her firsthand perspective, and welcome to Health Professional Radio, Ali Carbone. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Well, it's my understanding, of course, that you are a sibling advocate for your brothers. Give us a brief look into your life. Tell us a bit about yourself and your brothers, and then let's talk about how you've been helping your brothers get along.
Yeah, sure. So I have three autistic brothers. All three of them are younger than me. My oldest is 29, and then we have 26 and 24, I believe, around those years. My oldest is completely nonverbal, epileptic, and blind. He's kind of like on the lowest end of the spectrum, definitely low functioning. And then I have my brother Anthony, who's definitely in the middle. He's super verbal, super social, but definitely has really bad OCD that makes it tough to kind of like function with him in public. And then you have my youngest Luke, who is like kind of right in between Anthony and Michael. He is definitely super smart, but not as verbal, only really when he wants to be. But he's the best behaved. He's the angel of the family. And then there's me, the ringleader of my little circus.
Have you ever looked into why all three of your brothers are affected, but not you?
Yeah, I've never gone into that. I think that if I was going to look into that question, it would probably be in preparation for my own family. Am I going to have kids that are autistic? But I think, when you grow up in that situation, it's kind of what's done is done. And yeah, we never kind of looked into the vaccine argument doesn't really work with my family because my two youngest brothers were not vaccinated. They were born around that big argument. I definitely do have some tendencies myself, like I have sensory issues every once in a while. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm a girl. I think my mom just got super unlucky. Michael, the oldest, she wanted me to have a sibling. And then Anthony, when Michael was diagnosed, that's when she had Anthony because she didn't want me to be alone with Michael. And then that kind of backfired on her. And then Luke was a wonderful surprise, which also turned. So never really looked into why, but I think that it's definitely got to be genetic. I definitely feel like there are plenty of people in my family that are on the spectrum, but it's just not spoken about for sure.
Now, you guys' life isn't all about challenges. Plenty of rewards being a sibling advocate.
Yeah, it's funny. I was thinking about this the other day. For me, the rewards are really all character based. So it's who I am is because of them. So I'm more compassionate. I'm more empathetic. I don't judge people. Even the worst of people, I definitely will always put others before myself. But I think that's a double-edged sword. The same rewards are also kind of the same tough parts. I think, those things have also made it tough for me to develop on my own in a healthy way. And I think that's the case for a lot of siblings, the inability to put yourself first, from 6 years old. That's definitely not a good thing, but it's definitely made me a better person. So there's that.
What prompted you to write What Are You Looking At? Was it about raising awareness? Was it therapy for yourself?
Yeah, I always, so I'm a writer by trade. I'm a creative writer, so I always wanted to write a book. I think that it all has to do with where I was at in my life at the time and the transition. So when I moved out of my parents' house after college, when I was moving to Brooklyn, where I live now, I had little bits of this, and you could read it in the book of when I left my house, I felt like I had no sense of identity because my whole life was around my brothers. So, when I moved to Brooklyn, that was exacerbated because now I'm never going home. I'm not in college. This is my real life. And I started doing therapy, and I really went down a tough road with my mental health. And, it had me decide that I needed to I thought that I had kind of lived my whole life like I'm stronger because of them. I came out unscathed, and then I moved out of my house, and I was like, why do I feel empty all the time? Why do I not know who I am outside of my brothers? So once I started therapy, it took a little time, and I don't know, it just kind of, it just kind of happened. Like there was a need to have the story. Like I think the conversation of Glass children also was kind of starting to come around. So I definitely looked in that way. But I mean, the reason that I started writing it was in that therapy journey, I was trying to find things that would bring me happiness. So I was like, when was the last time I was happy? When I was a kid, I danced all the time. So I found a dance studio in Manhattan, and I joined there. And there was a girl who noticed me sitting by myself in the class, and she came over to me, introduced herself. We became friends, and it turned out that she was writing a poetry book, like with this course. And I told her, I was like, what do you mean you're writing a book? I'm writing a book. Like, I always thought I wanted to. And she invited me to do the class with her, and that's why I actually started writing it. So it was a long time coming, and it came in waves. So, a little bit of a self journey, and then a little bit of fate, I think.
What's your experience like as far as misconceptions of autism, being the sibling of three autistic boys? And, lots of people, the second part of that is people sometimes have their kids or their loved ones put into homes.
I guess one of the bigger misconceptions should be the topic of group homes and day habs. We did actually, all three of my brother's 3 spots opened up in a children's residence when I was still in college, and that is very rare. So my mom did take that opportunity to put them in that group home because it was only 15 minutes away from my parents' house. And again, that guarantees them housing on Long Island for the rest of their life, and that was ultimately taking the responsibility off of me. Then once they hit, since that was a children's home, once they hit 21, then they go into the adult homes, which is run by Citizens. And that's kind of the transition that we've been dealing with over the last 3 years. But it is definitely one of the bigger misconceptions that we've had to deal with. People think putting them in a group home is, not your first choice, or it's not a good thing, or you're doing that because you don't want to take care of them. And it's quite the opposite. I think that you're not child anymore because they're adults. I think you do, individuals with disabilities a great disservice by not allowing them to have independence and in their own life, even if it's going to hurt you with the transition. So yes, that's definitely, that was definitely like a thing with like our larger family when the boys went into the group home. A lot of people weren't like necessarily supportive of it. They didn't have to be out loud about it. But that's super important. And I think, that brings me to another thing that I want to say. The need for group homes, day habs, day programs is immense. So my oldest brother, he was born in 94. That's kind of like when the boom of this autism diagnosis really started. And we're seeing now with 21-year-olds or all of them aging out of these, out of their education, out of their day programs, there's nowhere for them to go. There's not enough housing. Citizens is the agency that kind of runs all the housing and the day programs that my brothers go to. So we're always like fighting for funding from the state because there is simply not enough. Like once the kids are done with school at 21, then they're put into either a day program or they just sit around in their home all day and do nothing. So that's definitely something that I'm trying to advocate for, is just more awareness for the adult side of the spectrum, because kids with autism are cute, right? They're kids still, but it's when they turn 21, it's not cute anymore. Nobody really wants to talk about it. And it's a big problem. It's a growing problem.
Well, give us some information as far as where we can learn more and, of course, where we can get a copy of What Are You Looking At, your first memoir.
Yeah, so my book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Goodreads, anywhere you get your books, Kindle, just Google, What Are You Looking At? But for the Citizens and the group home information, super important. You can check out more information on citizens-inc.org. That's Citizens Options Unlimited. And you can get all the information on everything I was talking about and see how you can help there.
Ali, I appreciate your time this morning. Thank you so much for joining us here on Health Professional Professional Radio, and I'm hoping that we'll speak again.
Thank you, Neil. It was really nice to be here.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard, in conversation with Ali Carbone. Audio copies of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also find us on Anchor, Spotify, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.